For a prostitute is a deep pit, and a wayward wife is a narrow pit, narrow well. Proverbs 23 and verse 27. Dangerous effects of infidelity in marriages. The author here, or this father, was telling his son that a prostitute or a whore is someone who is involved in sexual affairs for trading. And he says is a deep pit. But a wayward wife is a narrow well. Now, this makes it interesting because we are going to use those two phrases, that adultery or sex outside marriage with another woman is called a deep pit. So in the Bible, what does deep pit represent? And amongst so many descriptions have been highlighted to talk about the deep pit. Number one, it speaks of hopelessness in life. In Zechariah 9 and verse Gapi and verse 11b, are free your prisoners from the waterless pit. So number one, being in a deep pit may mean living imprisoned life. Do you remember Jeremiah when he was put in a pit? It meant, if you look at Jeremiah 37 verse 16, Jeremiah was put into a vaulted cell in a dungeon where he remained a long time. So when we say you have been put in the pit, or when you sleep with somebody else's wife, it means being thrown into the pit. What does it mean? If you may look at Jeremiah 38 and verse 6, so they took Jeremiah and put him into the cistern of Malchiah, the king's son, which was in the courtyard of the guard. They lowered Jeremiah by ropes into the cistern. It had no water in it, only mud. And Jeremiah sank deep into the mud. If you look at the description in verse 8, Ebed-Melech went out to the palace and said to him, my lord the king, these men have acted wickedly in all they have done to Jeremiah the prophet. They have thrown him into a cistern where he will starve to death when there is no longer any bread in the city. So somebody who we say is in a deep pit, it means this person is in the state of hopelessness, imprisonment, and is in scarcity, in starvation. You will starve to death. You remember when they caught Joseph and they took off the robe of the ornament, many ornaments. They threw him into a pit, but it had no water. Waterless pit is a deep pit. Waterless pit is a dominion of demons. So a woman who is under duress, when you enter into her, you see her body, the one we call it a honeypot. But as you enter, the reality is you are entering into the deep pit, into the abyss. Into the abyss. Do you remember the demons crying out Jesus in Mark 5, telling him, do not send us to the abyss before our time. So when you commit adultery, the adultery now sends you to start operating from the abyss, from a domain of demons. Then he says, is a narrow well. Is a narrow well. What does it mean? Is a narrow well. You know many adulteresses, those women who commit adultery. You already know their private body most times is the way it is. But in the spiritual realm, when you are doing that, you are entering yourself into a narrow pit. Narrow pit means you enter into a spiritual realm through a portal that has no way of returning. So when you commit adultery, and he says, the wayward wife, he is very categorical. Wayward wife is a narrow pit. So when you sleep with a married woman, you enter into a narrow pit. So meaning, if you enter in that pit, the means of coming out are very rare. What do I mean by this? Deliverance, redemption, or salvation becomes very, very difficult. And go and do your own research. People who have committed adultery, their pursuit for deliverance is so difficult, almost too impossible. Can you consider Proverbs 22 and verse 14? The mouth of an adulteress is a deep pit. Is a deep pit. He who is under the Lord's wrath will fall into it. Did you get that? So an adulteress is a married woman who is promiscuous. And here he is saying the next thing is wrath of God. I want you to notice here. So a woman, a married woman, having an intercourse with her means you have fallen into a deep pit, an abyss. You have entered into the abyss, into the domain of demons. From there, the dreams now you have are all demonically castigated. Then is a narrow pit, meaning deliverance is close to impossible. And you can borrow that from David. He was told after sleeping with Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, Nathan told him, the sword will not depart from your house. And it was just a minor thing, but you can see from there, all the way until Judah was taken into captivity to date. Right now, the people in Israel are Judas. They are from the Judah. The sword has never left that family of David. So it is a narrow where you enter, but means of coming out are almost too impossible. Something else is, he says in Proverbs 2 verse 14 that the mouth of an adulteress is a deep pit. And you know that mouth, not this natural mouth, the other mouth is a deep pit. So you can feel like you're hitting the cervix, you're hitting the G-spot, but in the spirit, you're entering into the deep pit, abyss, the domain of demons. But he says, he who is under God's wrath will fall into it. So something else that is very dangerous is, if you see committing adultery, sleeping with a married woman, the wrath of God is on you. Not after sleeping with her. This is before. So making or committing adultery is one way of God expressing his wrath on you to find a reason in dealing with you, in punishing you. Because the moment you commit adultery, you have now provoked God. You have crossed the red line. So the wrath of God has to do